Hi, and welcome to the Build Relevance Podcast, where we work to transform manufacturing operations by discussing ways to rethink traditional business and provide insights into fresh perspectives in growth and scalability in manufacturing. The way modern business has changed, and so gaining exposure and new ideas to these approaches can provide significant impact. Future-proof your business and scale up your knowledge by learning from those who are disrupting the industries. Like and subscribe to the channel for ongoing updates. Um, Today, I'm joined by Mike LeBlanc, 14-year Marine vet and co-founder of Foundation AI. And subject and AI robotics company that builds physical AI and robots that learn real world physics and human intent, enabling robots to rapidly acquire new tasks in factories and warehouses and execute them safely alongside people, starting with pilot programs in consumer goods, beverages, and glass manufacturing. Mike, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bob.
And thank you for your service. That's great to know that you're a 14-year vet. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, yeah, you've been involved in some fascinating areas, including hardware development and now at Foundation. Can you share a bit of your journey and what initially drew you to the intersection of engineering and business innovation?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was originally born and raised in Ohio. My dad was a house painter, so he always kind of had a kind of freedom, no boss, kind of an entrepreneurial bug that he had with him for over 50 years. And my mom was a teacher in my public school district. I kind of shook things up when I went and studied philosophy in Maryland and moved out of state. That was kind of a crazy thing for me at the time. And then read a lot of philosophy, got very interested in war and the Marine Corps, joined the Marines, and did that for a number of years. Worked in the Pentagon, got to bring some new technology into the Pentagon. Got to go to the Middle East several times, both over Afghanistan and Iraq. And then once I got out, went to Harvard Business School, and then started my first company, Cobalt Robotics, which we sold in 2024, and then started Foundation in 2024, a few months later.
That's fantastic. In fact, I'm going to share that real quick. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, I think that what is the core mission of Foundation, and what problem are you most passionate about for solving your customers right now?
Well, it's pretty amazing if you look back at human history, right, at all of it. It's pretty much always had slaves involved. There's always been some form of slavery. We only had a brief window without slavery, and that was during the Industrial Revolution when you started seeing all of these robots start to come out. You started seeing FANUC and ABB, all these, all this automated manufacturing that can go on. But then we kind of opened that back up with globalization and just started sending that out to different countries. And I've always been interested in this because Aristotle, as I studied, he said the only way that we'll ever get rid of slavery is if we have automatons, if we have machines that can do their own work, they can just do whatever they're supposed to be able to do. That's the only way that you ever get rid of it. And I think that's really what we're doing at Foundation.
Yeah, that's fantastic because I've seen some of the stuff you've been doing. I've been looking at your website, I've been seeing the videos. In fact, I was running one just right now while we were talking. Um, yeah, that's amazing. And I think that kind of that blend together of the hardware and the software and the AI, all that together is just great. You mentioned a conversation with Sequoia Investor that shifted your perspective on hardware development. For our listeners who might be hesitant about the complexity of hardware, what was the key insight that made you reconsider the viability of the opportunity in that space, especially with the rise of humanoid robotics?
Well, anyone that knows hardware knows that it's hard. And if you've done manufacturing, there's just a reality to it that is constant parts breaking, new parts that need to be sent out, shipments that are coming late, supply chain worries. There's so many headaches. And I have a good friend of mine. He has a company that makes websites accessible to deaf and blind people. And his is all software. It's a complete launch, right? They just have to do it just on the computer. But once it's launched on a customer's website, there's only a little bit of upkeep, and he keeps those contracts for forever. And I was looking at those kinds of things and going, I need to get in software. I need enterprise software. That is the easy thing. And as I was saying that as kind of lessons learned after we sold our my first company, uh, at Sequoia, one of the partners was telling me, well, Apple did pretty good with it. I said, well, yeah, that's Apple. And he said, and Tesla, and SpaceX, and maybe it's not hardware. Everybody has their challenges, but you can do really incredible things in hardware, and that got me inspired to jump back in.
Yeah, I was look as exactly because I was looking at your Phantom, the robotics there, and that's fantastic. I mean, it seems like you're doing some good pilot groups into. I think you have food and beverage. You have all sorts of here. In fact, if you don't mind me talking a little bit more about it while I share my screen, like share
Absolutely.
the information. Oops, there we go.
Yeah. So all of what you're seeing, these are all real use cases, or they're at least similar, right? We don't use any of the brand names of any of our customers, but the use cases are very similar to what someone is asking us to do. And what is going on right here is all data collection. So you'll notice these are all old. The robot is bipedal, so it's on two legs. But this is where we just have the top torso training on all these. But this is just to really figure out the dexterity. The hands have been the biggest challenge of humanoid robotics. And over again, we're running these tasks and collecting the data to teach all of these robots how to do these tasks autonomously. And so we already have, we're the first humanoid company to have these robots on a manufacturing line. We have them running 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that's definitely the first to actually, be sending workers home, be sending 3 workers home because it's 3 shifts a day. But we're going to get, thousands upon thousands of these out this year.
Yeah, and what it seems like is that you're not trying to replace, you're more trying to complement because like that third shift, that dreaded third shift, no one wants to work that. It's like,
That's
those
right.
late hours and all that. It's like, you're trying to keep people at home with their family. So that's great. I
Yes.
and then can you tell me a little bit more with the Phantom? Or if is there other like I know we've got the other areas. I'm sharing a bunch of things. So if you want me
Yeah.
to focus on a specific area.
Yeah. So the Phantom Mark One, this is our first generation of robot. We'll have the Mark Two coming out in a couple months. But essentially, this started on us building this on the torso. We later were able to put legs on it. We then had to work on all kinds of balance issues, safety issues, walking on uneven surfaces. Anybody who's been to a manufacturing floor knows there's stuff you got to get around. There's stuff you got to get through. But this robot is designed to do everything that a human can do, and that's the ultimate goal of the foundation is to have this be able to pop in wherever you put a worker and be able to explain to it what you want and have them do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this just is amazing, the stuff you're doing. That's just, I mean, and some of this stuff is just going to help transform business in just such a variety of different ways that people don't realize. So I appreciate that. So I'd like to shift our focus onto like strategic focus and systems. You and I discussed before about the infinity loop, about the critical balance between engineering and execution, and sales, marketing, innovation. In your experience at Foundation, which side of the loop is typically the biggest bottleneck of a growing tech company and why?
Well, I think the nice thing about a growing tech company is it's always moving, right? It's really it should feel like whack-a-mole. And I think that a lot of founders get stressed about that, of feeling like, man, we just had this problem in legal and then we fixed that and there was a new problem that popped up. That's because you're always kind of going after the tallest weed to cut the tallest one, and then there's the next tallest one and the next tallest one. And you're kind of just putting out all of these small fires as you can. And as you do that, the whole enterprise grows. But it's been really interesting. This is a peculiar product because demand is not in question. There's no question that people want human shaped labor and they want as much of it as they can get without headaches. that's that's been known, that's been known throughout human history. And so with demand already figured out, it really becomes a technical challenge. Now, the strategic portion for us is where do you start? How do you position yourself versus all the other companies that are building these things out?
Mhm.
And what do you need to be able to do first? How are you going to actually prove this to customers that you can get there and be useful? Because otherwise, you'll see a lot of backflip robots on YouTube and things. I don't know anybody that's getting paid to do a backflip, right? Maybe Cirque du Soleil, but
Yep.
but there are not many roles that require those kinds of things. So really figuring out what is useful, and then working backwards from there to make sure that we can hit those technical milestones.
Yeah, I can't agree more. That is funny. You look at the robots that are doing those special things, and you think, wow, but that's not practical. So it's like, that's
It is. It's
great.
it's very cool, and it's for us. I always think it's a good commercial for us because it's
Hmm.
it's showing people just how robust this hardware can get.
Right.
But for our customers, it is far less important that we're able to do a backflip or we're able to break dance. It's much more important that we're hitting cycle time. And cycle time is not it's not a sexy speed. It's not running a marathon. There's some robots out there running marathons and these things. It's really just making sure that you can over and over again hit that 58 seconds, that 60 seconds, that whatever that time is, something's coming out of injection molding. Every time it's off the press, being there to receive it and being ready for the next one. That's not the it's not the glamorous one, but when you're really looking at the stats over the months, when you look at how many, tens of thousands of cars we've helped manufacture at this point,
Right.
it becomes really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how that would be. I mean, it's important to have those KPIs to be able to kind of showcase and not only show the growth that you can do, but also the saved amount of labor, the saved time, labor, all that cost and everything. So,
Well, and the
yeah.
beauty is, manufacturing manufacturing already has all of these KPIs built in. So we're entering a space. That was one of the problems in my old company. We replaced security guards. We would have robots go in and act as security guards. And the problem was security guards don't have a lot of metrics. It's usually, well, I don't know. Frank's over there. He hangs out. He seems pretty good. I don't know. That's what you kind of get. So it's harder to go and show that we did that too, because they go, well, yeah, your robot was there, but what did you do? In this one, they know exactly how many parts they've put out every month. They know it month over month for many, many years, decades even. And
Right.
so they know where you're fitting in that trend line, and when we're able to pull a little bit faster than humans when we need to do some fixes, et cetera.
Wow. Yeah, that's so true. Um, yeah, yeah, just shifting. Your background suggested a focus on building systems. So when you look at a company trying to achieve exponential growth, where do you see the greatest need for standardization, like scalable systems? Is it product development, sales, operation, or a combination?
Yeah, I definitely see that mostly on the product. You've really, for what we're trying to do, which is build this so fast, we're going to build 10,000 of these this year. So you better be right about what that product is. The operations, there's all kinds of human flex that can come in these things. In sales, we don't even have a sales team right now, right? Because the demand is so big for the robots that it's really just more getting our engineers to talk with them. We don't actually have somebody corralling a deal, having like enterprise sales reps or anything. And so it really is, you need to get this product right. And to do that, you need to know, what does that robot need to lift? What does the torque need to be? What does the dexterity need to be? What does the speed need to be? You need to have those really well spelled out and defined, or else you're going to build the wrong thing and not be able to replace all of these tasks. And then you've got an army of robots in your warehouse.
Yeah. And but hopefully they'll be able to continue to perform the tasks as needed. But it's like you're not given the right information. It's not going to give that. That's very, very true. So yeah, I mean, I think that let me switch back here. Yeah, I think that the given I want to just talk about the role of AI in business. Given your interest in technology and easier solutions, how are you currently leveraging AI internally at Foundation to make your own business success and processes more efficient and scalable? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, but I'm just gonna, I figured I'd
Well,
ask.
yeah, it's interesting because I think there are most companies in the world are looking at how to use AI to help them cut down on their staff, help them, yeah, really, really reduce headcount and be more efficient in those things. For us, we are an
Mhm.
AI company, so it really is about making these AI models. And every company in the humanoid space and in the robotic space right now has kind of a choice to build their own hardware or to just build the world model and then deploy that on different robots. We think the only way to really do this is to own the hardware and all the AI and all the software. But AI is at the core of everything that we do. And so it's been very interesting to see. We have, our team came out of a Volkswagen. Volkswagen's AI team is now our AI team in Munich, Germany. And these guys are incredible. They've been doing this for decades. They know all of this inside out. And so to watch them finally have the hardware catch up and to watch some breakthroughs in AI catch up, it's exploring every day. It's getting to find new things. We're just completely on the forefront of this.
There's so many amazing, incredible things that are out there that we just don't have people just don't know about. And it's just kind of providing the exposure around some of this stuff that really will help people see and understand what's available. I mean, I think that, one of the things we talked about was the importance of product development and having that symbiotic relationship with market demand. How does Foundation ensure it's building products that truly meet customer needs or not just chasing kind of the next engineering challenge?
Yeah, well, what's interesting when you're working on something so fundamental, when you're working on automating human labor, uh, we all know about this. We all know the kinds of tasks that we need to do. We can very quickly understand when we walk in. It's not the same as looking at a software and trying to think, how is that working? Where's that pulling from? What is this doing? We have intuitive senses of all these things. And so it would be very interesting because as these humanoids come out, they're coming a lot faster than I think anybody thinks. And they're going to be doing a lot more work than people think by the end of this year. That really puts everybody in the position kind of very similar to when the internet was coming out, and everybody was wondering what are we going to do with it and how's this going to work. But right now we have most of our customers are looking at their existing operations and trying to think, how can we put robots into that. There are a couple customers that are thinking, how can I expand my operations now that I have this new tool? And I think those people that are asking that question of what new businesses can they start, what new production facilities can they start, right? Knowing that this demand is that this new supply is coming, those are going to be the people that really ride up the next economic wave and really take full advantage of automated physical AI.
Yeah, and I know I have in the past worked for companies and that have just had there's that fear of embracing change or keeping what's existing and what's kind of, they're afraid that what works now is always going to work, but they need to continuously be innovating and so forth and looking ahead. And so that lies right into a lot of the challenges I see today is that kind of, you need to be aware of these things and see how they can apply to your business, but at the same time, not necessarily jump into something if it doesn't make sense.
Well, and it's tough. It's like for every story that there is of Netflix and Blockbuster and thinking, man, Blockbuster really should have been on top of that. There's another story of, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Is it Edsel? Do you know the old Ford? Ford started a new car line, and
No, I'm
was
trying to think.
it was
Etzel sounds familiar though.
I think it
I
was
think I
Edsel,
remember my parents talking about it.
but then it was Ford, Buick, and Chevy, I think, were the big car makers. And Ford decided basically we should start another one so that we can distribute market share and we'll get more. And I think they named it Edsel, but you end up with those. It was a huge, they put a huge portion of the company into it. They put a huge, block of attention on it and just completely bombed, right? And I think that those kinds of lessons sit, although the Edsel doesn't sit in everybody's mind on the forefront, that kind of worry, that kind of risk, everybody lost their jobs there. You've always got to think about this in a company is that the biggest, scariest part for any customer taking in new technology is usually not it not working on their line. There are a lot of ways to remedy that. It's the risk to reputation. It's the risk to their job. Why did you bet on such a stupid thing? And so I think that's been huge for us right now, is to try to make that as risk-free as possible for our early customers, to show them this is worth betting on. And we have so many people focused just on you to make this work.
Right.
and letting them know that there's, that it's text me and call me and email me and just complete direct access to anybody on the team. I think that starts to help flow these new technologies in.
Yeah, and being present and being there, I mean, really helps overcome a lot of those challenges I think that people have. I mean, it's true. Another when you were talking about that, I just realized that it was like, do you remember when Coke tried to come out with a new formula and
Yes. Yep. Yeah. New Coke. Yeah. Yeah. The even better example. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's a perfect example of why, and part of it, I heard that part of it, they said that they actually did that so that they could have two brands that they could utilize. They just
Yep.
assumed that people might like the new Coke, but everybody kept the old Coke, so they kind of kept a Coke Classic, and then they kind of eventually phased it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
and then the Pepsi, what was it, Clear Pepsi? It's all
Yep.
sorts of stuff. It's those trials and tribulations. But yeah, so, but no, that's great. I'd like to kind of transition into continue with some of these challenges. So I'd like to ask you, it's like looking ahead to the next 12 months, what is the single biggest challenge or roadblock that Foundation's currently focused on overcoming to achieve the next level of growth?
Yeah. So I think we have a couple. It's manufacturing. Anybody that's had to manufacture many of the same thing knows getting 10 things that out there is no joke. These guys are
Right.
working round the clock. They're in there 7 days a week. They are just pumping this, right? I mean, it's just a very hard problem to get this many robots out. So that's going to be a major one of making sure that we have all of the robots. But then there's also hands. Hands have continued to be a large issue across all humanoids. The human hand is really a master design. It's a beautiful thing, and I always think that when I'm carrying my car keys and a grocery bag and a full coffee right up to the brim as I'm opening my door
Right.
my front door to get in my house. I mean, hands are just an incredible thing, and so getting a robot to do everything that a human hand can do and be
Right.
adaptable for more than one task is very challenging. So that's where a lot of our focus goes right now. I think that we should be happy here in probably 2 months, probably in March. We'll be looking at a hand that we're very happy with. But that's going to be a big game changer for the hardware, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, and just look at, you don't think about it, but we take a lot of stuff we do for advantages, for granted. It's like, being able to, when you mentioned that, I was like thinking, oh man, I have to run to the door to help my wife get in the door because she's carrying
Yes.
so much stuff. And you're like, yeah, and you just don't think that there's still, as much as there's little, like somewhat fear about, oh, they're going to take over everything. It's like, there's still a long way to go. But,
Well, and I
and
think
that's,
that's you really see AI. AI has come in. If you're looking at the spectrum of IQs, right? It's kind of come in there somewhere right around like 100, 110 IQ, and so that's why
Mhm.
everybody looks at all the jobs that are kind of done by rote, and then it's moving out toward both the Rhodes
Right.
scholars and and the brilliant PhDs, but it's also moving out toward the blue collar workers, the
Right.
ditch stickers, right? And those are both at the end, but those are very hard tasks, both of those, right? Being like a Nobel, Peace Prize winner and just being a baby learning to walk. Those are both very
Right.
hard tasks. And
Yeah.
so we're all on
Absolutely.
the lower side here.
Yeah, me too. So, well, let me ask you this. If you had a magic wand and could instantly fix one thing about your sales and marketing or operation systems that's currently holding back Foundation's growth, what would that one thing be?
I would just have cameras everywhere on all of our teams all at once. I walk around the company. So right now I am rarely am I at home. I'm at my house, mostly on the road. But right now I've got a whole team downstairs prepping all 32 GoPros. I think they have 32 GoPros for people to go wear for data collection. They're headed out to Singapore on Friday, and they've
Oh,
got to collect
wow.
1,000 hours of data by February 16th. And so these guys they even went to my neighbor's steam room, and they've been putting the GoPros in there because there was an issue with the batteries, and Singapore gets very hot and very wet, right? So they're
Right.
doing that. They're wearing helmets with GoPros on them. If I go to Germany, I was in Munich. I got delayed on my flight, so I popped into our office in Munich to go check on them. And when I walked in the door, it was 6 p.m. and I was thinking, I hope they're all here. I think they're all working. And I pop in. the robots are walking around and everyone is intently focused on them, right? They're watching their computer and they're all staring at the robots. That's exactly what I hope that those guys are doing at all times. And so I
Yeah.
think anywhere that you go in the company, there's just incredible stuff going on. And we have no marketing people, we have no sales people. We just don't have any resources going toward that. But yeah, if I could just wave a magic wand, it would be to just have cameras all over that people could tap in and just see what I get to see throughout the company every day, because it is so cool, so exciting, and optimistic.
It's almost like you're the grand architect for the Matrix, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I gotta get in the and really do a lot of nitty gritty stuff myself still, right? We're 60 people strong, and a lot of this, when you're getting these things, we're teaching the robots to shoot guns, to handle weapons. There's a lot of locking on shooting ranges.
Right.
There's just always a million things that are going on in a given day, and
Yeah.
and they're all so exciting. They're all such cool stories. I think all of our employees are interesting to talk to at parties, because they all just work so damn hard. They don't have time to go to parties to tell them, but if they could, people would really like them.
Exactly. No, that's great. Yeah. And I mean, and you got to have, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it makes it really hard to be super successful. And I've always found that I always tell my kids, find your passion and the rest will fall. So it's like, that ties in. So,
Well, and it's nice.
yeah,
We always talk about choose your problems, because hardware does come with a set of problems, that enterprise software does not have. But what's really nice is we don't have demand problems, and we don't have funding problems. And those are two nice problems not to have. And
right.
so, we get to do a lot of fun stuff. Our hand guys, for example, when they were coming in to really see how the human hand worked, we actually
Mhm.
got a cadaver hand, a human hand that they brought in, that they were able to conduct surgery on, to dissect and really see how all the tendons are working, how all of this is pieced together. How is it that the forearm actually controls the parts of the hand? Being able to do stuff like that for our engineers is so exciting, because they really are they're controlling nature. They're taking
Right.
they're taking what we found that's great after all of these years of evolution, and being able to figure out how we can mimic it. So it's really exciting for the human spirit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something brand new.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. You mentioned about the hand and everything. I just remember my neighbor went on a camping trip and he was cutting wood and accidentally cut the tendon right here. And it like it just slipped back and his hand just went down like this and like nothing
Wow.
moved and they had to reattach that. But you something so simple as just a slight, just right there and it's just
Yes.
like whoop, everything goes. So yeah,
Yep.
it's just incredible and like it's kind of like the details you don't realize the intricacies of like the human body and everything that kind of goes into it, so it's great to be able to learn from what has evolved over time, so yeah.
It's amazing, because as you go through life, you think about, you're just living your life, and your consciousness just kind of walking around. But as you start working on humanoids, especially, you're constantly thinking about your eyes as cameras, and thinking,
Right.
I watched my dog just ran out after my wife yesterday. She was going out, and he was trying to get her, so I let him off the leash, and he just bolted out there. But he bolted to the driveway, and then sure enough, he stopped, and he's just looking around. And it's very funny, because he's doing what anybody does, but you see
Right.
it more in a dog, that he has his eyes and his vision. He thought that
Yeah.
she was there for some reason, and so he stops and just points himself around to think where, and he's going, nothing matches what I
Yeah.
recognize as her. Right? You can
That.
now train robots to do that. I mean, that's an incredible change in technology. And I think
Yeah.
it's long overdue that we haven't had great technological change for a very long time. But this is what
Yeah.
we're really starting to see.
Yeah, it almost seems like we're on the cusp of another industrial revolution in a way that I don't think people realize. So that's what's just fantastic and amazing about like hearing all this stuff that's going on. And I admire you to be able to work in this every day and do all this stuff. It's just fantastic. So well,
Yeah.
we could talk all day. I hate to have to wrap this up, but what is the one piece of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs who are trying to maintain that excitement and the pace of innovation while building sustainable, like long-term companies?
Well, I think in this case, it's really, embrace physical AI. I think that so many people right now are asking what is a very 2025 question. of, how can I get AI into, to help me in my business. They're looking at how to control their emails. They're looking at how to schedule things faster. That's very much like, there's a great video in the 90s when they said, what are people going to do with this internet? And they said, oh, well, you'll be able to keep recipes on it. That is really what's going on right now. And so the 2026 question is really, how can physical AI change what my company is doing? How can I get robots of whatever shape to change my
Right.
business? Because the breakthroughs in those are going to be incredible. So companies that are building on those are going to have a lot of excitement because they're going to watch this new technology develop, and they're going to watch their businesses grow, which is just always great.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. I know. I'm so excited for see what's in the future and what's available. So again, I just cannot wait. So that's just great. I'm happy to hear, and thanks so much for your insights. I really appreciate all the information you've shared. Once again, it's Mike LeBlanc from Foundation, and this is the podcast, Build Relevance Podcast, where we work to help transform operations, and we have a very systematic approach to business. We really try to look for deep discovery, do AI strategy design and agile implementation, and then optimize and scale. So if you're interested in knowing more about Build Relevance, happy to reach out or just reach out to me and let me know. All right. Well, thanks again. Really appreciate, Mike, all of your information, your time. And yeah, look forward to hopefully keeping in touch and talking again, and keep us updated on the latest advancements and everything that's going on. Really,
Absolutely.
really
Thanks a
appreciate the
lot,
time
Mike.
today. So thanks so much. All right. You have a great day. All right. Take care.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.